Okay, I wanted to go over real quick, and I'm gonna make this real quick. My self-filming setup this year. It's all iPhone based, um, and I'm not gonna go into a lot of detail on the pieces and parts. If you have questions about some of the stuff that I'm using, I'm gonna hit the high spots. You can send me a comment or a message, and I'll try to answer those questions the best I can. But this is my self filming setup for this year. I've done the GoPros and the camcorders, and this is by far the easiest and best thing that I have tried. So let's just go through the process of how I set it up on the tree and how I use it. This is an old Gorilla arm that I've had for 20 something years. I've modified it with an am steel cable, and I've cut the pieces down so it's a 3 section instead of a two. And I've tied on a paracord prusik. So the way I set this up, I'll try to stay out of the way. I leave this little bungee wire clip on it until I get it like I want. Try to set this as level as possible. I could throw a little level on that if I wanted to. And then I bring my am steel around, run it through this loop that I've tied. This is a Night Eyes little cleat clip binder, cam lock, whatever you want to call it. Bring this around, pull up my slack, clip my clip into the prusik that I've tied. Try to keep this up high, get it where I want, start pulling the slack out. When you start pulling this slack out, get it kind of close, reposition it, get it how you want, and then wrench down on it. And when you do, this little cleat takes up the slack, and the am steel bites into the tree really nice, and that thing's really solid. Now I ain't putting a big heavy camera on this, so it doesn't take as much. I don't need a ratchet strap. I don't need to screw it into the tree. Take my slack, throw it over to the side. It's out of the way. Then I'm going to pull my little wire bungee off, Night Eyes clip, whatever you want to call it. And the heart and soul of this piece, besides the iPhone, is this DJI gimbal. Um, it just mounts onto this little Neewer GM24 micro fluid head, and I'm ready to roll. Now, one thing about this gimbal is I don't have to worry about leveling this because the gimbal is going to level itself out. Now, you'll practice and you'll get this at the position that you want. The gimbal allows me to make these, it kind of acts like a shock absorber, so to speak. So I'm not super smooth with my motions. It's going to take up some of that. Um, but I've got a lot of range of motion with the gimbal and the tree arm now. And the way I film with this, of course, the lapel mics make a huge difference with the audio. But so got this little clip that goes onto the phone. You open it up, it's going to make a little beep. You put this on the phone, it magnets to the gimbal. It's going to spin around and do its little thing. I always try to, and there's a lot of functions and stuff that you have to learn about the gimbal, but the basic stuff that's important to know is that it's got a joystick on the back so you can pan with it. It's got a dial on the side for zoom. It's got a record button. So all that is right here at my fingers. I can zoom, pan, hit record, flip the screen forwards and backwards, do my interviews, whatever I wanted to do, all right here in this joystick. What's even cooler about this, and I've practiced with this on a setup in a field edge. I haven't got to do it in the timber yet, so I'll leave a little root of a comment later on how that works. But when the deer come into my setup, I've got this thing set up where I think they're coming, right? And when and out of my way so that I've got my shooting lanes like I want. I can set it kind of panned in, right? But as the deer come into my set, I kind of get them pretty close, get my arm where it's out of my way, where I expect that deer to come through, where I can shoot. And then I'm going to take my finger and tap the screen and just drag and make a little box around that deer. And from that point forward, I don't have to touch this thing. It will track that deer as it comes in. As it moves in and out, it will track it. If I wanted to zoom in or out, then all I have to do is reach up here and roll this little dial and zoom in and out. Very little movement, very little extra stuff going on here. I can do this all whenever the time is right, and then I don't have to worry about. I can watch the screen. I can see that it's in frame. I don't have to do a lot of jockeying with it. I might have to in certain circumstances, but for the most part, it kind of takes over, and I can focus on doing my part to make the best shot possible on that deer. But that's my setup. It's pretty simple. It works really good. Like anything, it takes some time and practice. Play with it. If you got questions, comments, concerns, shoot me a private message. Leave a comment down below. I'll be glad to answer anything I can. Grand total, you got about $200 in this setup, not counting the phone. So it is what I considered a good, high quality starter type setup. It'll allow you to film to the best of your phone's ability. I've got the settings on my phone. I've got it cranked up to 4K at 60 frames per second. YouTube, I downloaded that same frame rate, and it leaves a real high quality video with that doesn't look like I was riding down a gravel road in the back of the truck. I've got good audio, and I didn't spend a bunch of money doing it, and it didn't create a burdensome for it wasn't a burden for me to do while I'm deer hunting. And that was kind of the kicker for me, is that the old setups that I used, they weren't much fun. This is a lot of fun. This is really cool setup. It works really good. It doesn't require a lot of maintenance and doesn't require a lot of upkeep. It just kind of works for itself once you get it set up. And yeah, that's my best. That's the best setup that I've come up with yet for self filming, and I'm using my phone. Got any questions, comments? Leave them below. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. We'll talk to you soon.